All right, Shalom. This is Power Thumb of the Great Millstone. Houston Camp back with another lesson to edify the elect of the nation of Israel. So before I begin, as always, giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushua, Ba'asham, Rachakwadash, the warners to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of the Great Millstone, that rule well, peace, blessing, and salutation to the elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of us so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and all Israelites scattered abroad, who have received this truth and who will endure in the truth until the end. The same shall be saved by Allah Yahweh Shah when it returns during World War III to destroy our enemies, starting with Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and to deliver the elect and set up the kingdom of Israel. Alright? So I'm gonna play this video, get some precepts, Lord willing, and lesson is edifying.
I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, and I want to visualize for you what it would look like if a nuclear weapon landed on the nation's capital. So, for our scenario, there is a nuclear weapon headed towards the city right now. A large nuclear weapon flying, headed towards Washington, D.C. The actual bomb is actually in here. This cone that's about 2 meters tall, 6 feet. It's falling back into the atmosphere. Here it comes. And then, for a moment, right here is the hottest thing in our solar system, hotter than the sun. 100 million degrees Celsius as it expands out. Everything around it turns into dust. I mean, smaller than dust. Atoms are ripped apart. This fireball instantly vaporizes everything within a half-a-mile radius. And here comes the blast wave. A wall of high-pressure air that is moving faster than the speed of sound. It creates wind behind it that is faster than anything ever observed in nature. Everything within 2.5 miles is leveled. And then there's the heat wave, which burns everything within 5 miles. Nearly everyone in this city is either dead or severely injured. Everything that can be on fire is now on fire as this huge mushroom cloud rises into the air, dragging with it a storm of dust, dirt, and debris. But this isn't normal dust anymore. The bomb has done something to it, to its atoms, making them fall apart in slow motion, shooting out invisible, deadly energy. This poison dust drifts all across this region. It clings to soil and plants and people hundreds of miles away. These poisoned atoms will keep firing off radiation for years, for decades, centuries, even thousands of years. This is a disaster that humans made, and that was just for one of these cones. A rocket fired from an American submarine can carry 8 of these cones at once. If all of those hit one target, it would be a much worse situation. A lot of global politics centers around this, making sure this does not happen. But everything I just showed you is very possible. We have the capabilities to do this right now. And in fact, a lot of countries have their finger on the trigger, able to launch one of these at a moment's notice.
Alright, so let's start off with this precept here in 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 5. Let me start at 6. For by the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. This is during the time of Noah. Alright, so the world then perished. The people, the majority of the people in the world died or perished. And only 8 souls were left. Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. 8 souls. So this is what the scriptures call the first death. Verse 7, but the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. All right, so this nuclear destruction is to come. all right, which is the fire to destroy Esau's kingdom, the so-called white man's kingdom, the heathen, and here in America, 2/3 of you wicked Israelites that don't believe that you're Israelites, you don't believe in the name, you don't believe in the doctrine that's being taught here at Great Millstone. All right, you feel like you can live your life whenever, however, all right, you want. This judgment is coming mainly to the shores of America. All right, then Israel, and it may hit, other parts of the world. We don't know particularly what parts. All right, but we have to see. So let's see. Yeah. This is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 6, and it reads, "Blessed and holy is he that had part in the first resurrection, and that is the elect that escape by chariots this nuclear destruction. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of Yahweh and of his anointed Yahweh, and shall reign with him 1,000 years." All right, that first 1,000-year reign. Revelation 20 and 14. "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death." So after this second death and hell for the Israelites is going to be cast into this lake of fire. It's going to be over with. All right. And we as a people, starting with the elect, will enter into the second covenant. This is the second death. So the lake of fire is here in America. All right. That's the lake of fire. Revelation 21 and 8. "But the fearful," all right, fearing who? Fearing man. As the scripture said, we will not fear what man can do against us. Roughly paraphrasing. "Unbelieving," the Israelites in their incredulity, "and the abominable, and the murderers, and whoremongers," right? Which a whoremonger is a man that sells women. All right. A pimp. Okay. Let's see. "And sorcerers and idolaters," right? Drug dealers. All right. Idolaters, you worshiping Jesus Christ. All right. Hey, "And all liars shall have their part in the lake, which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death." This is here in America. All right. Particularly going into you Israelites. This is Ezekiel chapter 20. All right. And let's see. Maybe 20. Let's see. Is it 22 and 20? Yep. This is Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 20. I started at 19. "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because ye are all become dross, which is wicked. Behold, there will I gather you into the midst of Jerusalem, as they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace, to blow the fire upon it, to melt it. So will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there, and I will melt you." All right. So this is Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua through the prophet Ezekiel prophesying of Israelites getting melted by nuclear missiles, nuclear warheads. "Yet I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof." Because you Israelites You don't want to be purged. The majority of our people don't want to be purged from their impurities by this word. All right. They don't want to be conformed, all right, by these scriptures. As the scripture says in Psalms 5:26, the washing of the water by the word. How shall a young man cleanse his way? Psalms 119, by taking heed to the word. So the word does the washing for the elect, all right, but this fire is going to do the cleansing for the non-elect in here in America, the 2/3, all right. So let's see, let's go back to this video and let's see if we could get some precepts out of here.
I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, and I want to visualize for you what it would look like if a nuclear weapon...
That's the spirit, Washington, D.C. Here in America will get nuked.
landed on the nation's capital. So, for our scenario, there is a nuclear weapon headed towards the city right now.
And this will be, according to prophecy, will no longer be a hypothetical scenario. This will be true. This is a true, actual event that will take place.
A large nuclear weapon flying, headed
And
towards...
the scriptures talk about the propellers.
And I want to visualize for you what it would look like if a nuclear weapon landed on the nation's capital. So, for our scenario, there is a nuclear weapon headed towards the city right now.
You see? First it comes out of the shallow looking like this. And then it breaks up. As the scripture says, they had fire and a mouth. Let's see. Let's see. Bear with me. Looking for this precept. Mouth. Hurt. Okay, this is Revelation 9:19, and it reads, I'll start at 18. By these three was the third part of men, which is Esau, the so-called white man's kingdom, will be ended by this thermonuclear destruction. By fire and by smoke, by brimstone, which issue out of their mouth. We're going to see the head of this missile, okay, have the fire, the smoke, and the brimstone in it. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. You see, the tail is pretty much what propels the nuclear missile to get to its destination. For their tails were like serpents. You see, their tails are like serpents, and they're going through the air, slithering, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. So the power in the fire is in their mouth or in their head, right?
A large nuclear weapon flying, headed towards Washington, D.C. The actual
You see, there's
bomb is actually in
multiple
here.
warheads. All right, that's why this same chapter, it says, let's see, I believe it's the same chapter. Yep, Revelation 9:16. And the number of the army of the horsemen, talking about the nuclear warheads, were 200,000 thousands. 200,000 thousand, which is 200 million warheads, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in a vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates made out of metal, of fire, and of adjacent brimstone, and the heads of horses, whereas the heads of lions. Right? That's where the power come from. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
This cone, that's about 2 meters tall, 6 feet, it's falling back into the atmosphere. Here it comes. And then, for a moment, right here is the hottest thing in our solar system, hotter than the sun. 100 million degrees Celsius as it expands out. Everything around it turns into dust. I mean, smaller than dust. Atoms are...
Yeah, Esau say hotter than the sun, but how would he know?
ripped apart. This fireball...
Atoms are ripped apart, right? Let's get... Second Peter 3 and 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements, an element is an element, shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also in the works, the wicked works that are therein, shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? All right, so this is a warning. Nuclear destruction is coming to where it's going to even burn the very elements of things. All right.
All instantly vaporizes everything within a half a mile radius. And here comes the blast wave, a wall of high-pressure air that is moving faster than the speed of sound. It creates wind behind it that is faster than anything ever observed in nature. Everything within 2.5 miles is leveled. And then there's the heat wave, which burns everything within 5 miles. Nearly everyone in this city is either dead or severely injured. Everything that can be on fire is now on fire as this huge mushroom cloud rises into the air.
Let's go back to this.
Everything within 2.5 miles is leveled. And then there's the heat wave, a wall of high-pressure air that is moving faster than the speed of sound. It creates wind behind it that is faster than anything ever observed in nature. Everything within 2.5 miles is leveled. And then there's the heat wave, which burns everything within 5 miles.
So you're going to have a wall of fire and a heat wave. All right. So the scriptures speak about this. This is Jeremiah 50:1. Let's see. 51:1. Salakia. Thus said Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon. This is America. And against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me. That's not about this truth. And the only people that can be for this truth is the Israelites. And more specifically, the elect. A destroying wind. So I'm going to start at verse 1 again from the top. Thus said the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will rise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that will fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So these fanners are these other nations with these nuclear missiles. They're going to empty this land. This is going to be at the end of it, when the smoke clears and the dust settles, it's going to be a desert where nothing but desert-like creatures will dwell over here. So this land will be flattened, right, by thermonuclear warheads. Okay, and we see the escalation of this nuclear war happening. Let's go to but before this happens, the mark has to be made mandatory. The charagma, which is the RFID chip. Look, This is Isaiah 14 and 20. Let's see. In 23. I will also make it a possession. This is Babylon. For the bitterns and pools of water. So the bitterns is those desert creatures. And I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, said Yahweh of hosts. And what's the besom of destruction? It says a broom, as removing dirt to dust. That is, remove dust, a besom. All right, so it's a broom to sweep. America is filthy, and this place is going to be swept by the wind. All right, and wall of fire from these nuclear warheads hit. All right, it's going to sweep this place. All right, and this is what the scriptures call the weapons and the dig. Yep. Nation. Let's see. This is Isaiah 13 and 5. They come from a far country, right? Because they got those shallows and the propellants, right? ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles. They come from a far country like Russia and China. All these nations with nuclear capability. From the end of heaven, even Yahweh and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Jeremiah 50 and 25. Yahweh had opened his armory and had brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. All right, so what's going to happen to the elect at this time? This is Revelation 11 and let's see, and 12. And they, which is the elect of the nation of Israel, which received this word and endured into the end, heard a great voice from heaven saying, come up, saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, the chariot, and their enemies beheld them. All right, all of our enemies. In the same hour was there a great earthquake by the nuclear warheads. It's going to cause shaking of the planet. And the 10th part of this city fell, which is America. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, a complete number of people, which is everyone outside the elect. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. All right, so we're going to see how it will play out. All right, the apostles going into the 10th part of the city, they might hit a portion of America at a time. All right, and it makes sense. But we'll see how it all play out. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. So this is the third woe, nuclear destruction. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to the elect, or was edifying to the elect with that. Call all Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shah, Ba'asham, Rakakadash, Brakatham, Shalom.